What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my corner. I am the DM as always, and today we are going to be watching this Trump interview. Now, I've only seen a little bit of this, and truth be told, I wasn't even going to watch it. But I saw other people uploading it, and I've seen a few clips here and there, and I've seen a little bit of the beginning. And it's caught my attention enough that I want to see and hear the full thing. I want to know the full context around it. So that's what I'm going to be doing today.
As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year.
True. That's it. This is exactly what journalists are supposed to do. They're supposed to report to the public the facts of the truth, right? This is exactly what they're supposed to do.
NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
I like that, actually. That is very good to have live fact-checking during the whole thing, like in real time. That is very good. I wish I had caught this live now, honestly. One thing I want to point out immediately is take note of the fact that she greeted him, she shook his head, and she asked him how he was doing, said nice to meet you, all of that. Just keep that in mind.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist.
These are all true. This is all on the internet. I'm pretty sure almost all of this is on Truth Social. So if you want to fact check this, you can.
You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
I'm not going to, because I don't care to be on Truth Social. I'm going to be honest. I've never been there. Have no intentions of ever going there.
Question, sir. Now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
This is a fair question. It's a fair question. He has used rhetoric that does not reflect kindly or nicely on the black community. And so it's a fair question. Why should they vote for you?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC?
See, he says she doesn't even say, hello, how are you? But she quite definitely, in fact, did say hi and hello and asked, how are you? When you first came out on the stage. She even shook her hand when she did it. So there's line number 1.
Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Notice, however, with everything he's saying, he hasn't answered the question.
Including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. done so much. And, you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further.
The reason she started with that, by the way, is because these are very egregious things to do. I said it in a recent video, but there are certain positions that once you reach them or a position above them, you aren't really allowed to make a mistake. Because if you make a mistake at that point, it reflects upon not just you, but your entire sector. So if you're a judge, it reflects on all judges. If you're a cop, it reflects on all cops. If you're the president, it reflects on the entire country.
I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love
if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another.
And now he's deflecting it. Right now he's trying to spin it and make it seem like, oh, look at these people. They're so bad. They're so bad. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. They're mistreating me so much. Turning himself into a victim. You're not a victim.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
Wild claim. Wild claim. And a claim that is just emphatically not true.
That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act.
Do you hear that? He's saying that he's better than President Johnson, who signed the Voters Registration Act that allowed the black community to vote. Right? He's saying he's better than that. He's better than basically Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves.
To start off a question,
or he's at least equivalent to it, right? So he's saying that his presidency is equivalent to Abraham Lincoln, which fucking wild. No modern president comes anywhere close to Abraham Lincoln in any fucking way.
Question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner. I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up.
I think it's a disgrace that you are trying to make yourself the victim.
Follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire.
To be fair, so did Biden.
Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Bro, he doesn't even know what DEI means. Like, how do you not know what DEI means when you are chronically online?
Definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
you
a very
have to
direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly, very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir.
Here, let's Kamala Harris So let's just, you know, is there anyone anywhere that says this, right? So let's see. Selective use of Indian roots. Let's see. Okay, so this is only recent, right? So that doesn't really count because he said that she's had a history of doing this. So let's see. Nope. She's never. There's nothing at all anywhere about this. There's nothing. She's never made this claim, ever. Like, it's insane that he would say that she has made this claim when she's never made this claim. Like, just because she has an Indian heritage does not mean anything. Like, shut the fuck up.
Do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length, and we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Notice again, he isn't answering the question, and now he's deflecting. Right? This is a tactic you're going to see a lot. Because, I mean, I've only seen, I think, like 10 minutes of this, and he does this a lot. He deflects and then tries to make her look like the bad guy and make himself look like the victim.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What is that?
Let's just set something straight first, right? Let's make something clear. America is a refugee country. Just full stop. Okay? Like, part of early American history is we literally told people, come to America. If you have skills, we want them. If you can bring that's kind of how you got into America in the early days, is you proved you could provide some kind of value to the country. You brought some kind of product or skill to the country, right? And that's how you got in, because you brought value to the country, right? We have always been a refugee country. So this weird narrative he's trying to spin that these people are invading our country, we've always wanted them. It's a part of our founding.
Exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of...
No, it's not an invasion. And I hate this rhetoric. It's very hostile rhetoric. The jobs that are being taken, right, are being taken in various ways. There's actually a lot of nuance to this, because there's a lot of jobs that these migrants are taking that are hostile working conditions, borderline slavery. These immigrants working for either little or no pay at all, right? And that's not all of them, but it's certainly a large portion of them, right? And additionally, the legal jobs that are being taken by them are jobs that no one else wants to do or is willing to do, right? Or jobs that these people suck at, right? That they just can't do or whatever, right? Like, oh my God. It's insane because the narrative he's trying to spin is that they are coming in and literally stealing these jobs away. And that's just not the case.
Millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar.
So here's the funny thing, right? So Biden's administration tried to actually pass something that was effectively the same thing that Trump did. You know who struck it down? Republicans, after Trump effectively told them to. Okay? Because Republicans were going to vote for it. Then Trump made a post on Truth Social, and suddenly most of the Republicans were suddenly like, never mind, I'm not going to support that. So no, it's not on Harris. It's not on the Biden administration. It's on the Republicans. Because they're the ones that stopped it from coming into effect. Biden was going to sign it into effect, and it was going to strengthen the security at our border substantially.
In the history of the world, there's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very...
No, they're not. So, let's see. Some experts said immigrants have filled jobs left by union workers who disagreed with their employers' labor practices. One study found that increased immigration reduces union density because immigrants are less likely to join unions. In the future, this could mean that more immigrants would lead to fewer unions. You want to know why? Because if you're a part of a union, you're effectively being tracked. And if you're an illegal immigrant, you can't really afford that. So, yeah, no, this notion that immigrants are coming into the unions and stealing union jobs is fucking absurd.
Very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed...
By the way, he's saying millions, right? Let's see. So let's see. Since that, they have removed or returned almost 500,000 people. Yep. Okay, so they've returned 500,000 since May of 2023 to January 31st of this year. Okay. Let's see. The Border Patrol recorded 125,000 encounters between ports of entry and the southwest border, a decrease of 50% from December 2023. Okay. Let's see. More decreases. Let's see. Oh, more decreases. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it looks like there's no actual increase and there's nothing about millions. Okay. So that's just factually incorrect. I mean, if we go to 2023, right? Oh, look at this. It's a record high in 2023 of 249,000. 250,000. So no, this notion that millions of them are entering our country is just blatantly fucking false and is provable false by a simple Google search and clicking the very first fucking link.
Many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons,
Flat
from
out
jails.
wrong.
They're gang
Flat
members
out
in other
wrong.
countries.
Flat out
Other
wrong.
countries are setting loose their
Flat out
prisoners. Their
This is flat out wrong. Okay, so all of the immigrants that are coming in are coming from the Mexico border. Okay, that's where all this is fucking taking place. The vast majority of them are one fleeing their country because their fucking corrupt as fuck dictator has rigged his election and surprise has somehow won his election despite everything saying otherwise. Or 2, fleeing the cartel in Mexico. Or 3, fleeing poor living conditions in Mexico. Or 4, fleeing poor living conditions somewhere else down there in South America, in fucking Brazil, in fucking Chile, or where the fuck else, right? Like, they're not coming because they're criminals and they're being set loose by their governments. Shut the fuck up. This is all provably false with a single Google search and clicking the first fucking link.
They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their
wrong.
bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States.
All
and by
right.
the
Literally factually wrong. They're not bringing them in. Literally, if you go down to the fucking border and you were to look at the living conditions that they're kept in, it's like a fucking prison would be fucking generous. Like, it's just, they're treated like slaves. It's in fact, like, look at this shit. This is at the U.S. border. Okay? These are criminals, drug dealers, right? They're just being allowed into our country. Like, this is literally all provably false with a fucking single Google search and clicking images. Like, this is all factually wrong.
By the way, their crime rate
And people are still gonna vote for this fucking psychopath.
is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President?
Okay, let's look at this, shall we? Let's see. Crime statistics in Mexico for 2022 were 0. Wow. Okay. You know what? Let's use the same one. Texas crime rate. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Whatever. Texas crime rate. Okay. So let's see. Crime rate. Okay, a total of 820,000 total crimes. Okay, from mostly property. Very, very, honestly, by comparison, very few violent crimes, right? About 4.32 violent crimes per 1,000 residents versus 23 for property, right? Pretty insane, right? But this isn't honestly giving me what I want. I want to see it if it's been increasing or decreasing, right? Okay, so it's risen by 2% with significant variations. Okay. Let's see, it has increased slightly, and this is in 2024. Okay, compared to the previous year, includes both violent and property crimes. The uptick in crime rate reflects ongoing challenges in law enforcement and public safety, with significant variations across different cities and regions. So look at this. Wow. Does it have anything to do with border? No, it has to do with law enforcement, because defund the fucking police, right? Ha ha ha!
I want to get into how you address some of the issues with.
Like the increase in crime? down in Texas, because that's exactly where it would be taking place, because that's where our fucking border is, right? The increase in crime is directly related and attributed to the law enforcement. And what has been going on? Defund the police. Ha 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 ha. Has nothing to do with the border.
Black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying.
Let's fact check this, right? And this is who they said, right? Let's go back and make sure.
Data from its mid-year analysis of the inflation. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from.
Okay. So it is this, right? And she says that's what they say. So I should be able to find somewhere in here, right? I should be able to find somewhere in here this thing, right? But I'm not seeing it there, which is kind of weird, right? And this is their website, right? So let's see. I don't think this is actually their study, though. So yeah, no, that doesn't seem like it. Press releases. Let's see. Counseling in first half. Okay, so right here. This is probably it, right? So Money Management International reports major increase in credit counseling in first half of 2024 as Americans grapple with rising debt. Gee, I wonder why. So let's see. Right here. Nationally, MMI's proprietary data shows a 52% rise in new clients compared to the same period last year, with new clients carrying an average unsecured debt of $28,000, an increase of 9% from 2023. Okay, so the debt is about 9% higher, and there's about 52% more people. Okay, so what she's saying here is true.
Its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get...
Look at her face. He is constantly, he'll deflect and then blame her. Deflect, blame her. Deflect, blame her. That's his strategy.
Get the right equipment, but it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates, interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't.
All technically true. Everything he's saying, valid. Hasn't answered the question.
Borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying.
Okay, but answer the question.
The black community probably as much or
So what do
more
you do?
than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably.
And here he goes off on his tangent. Deflect, blame someone else.
Saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll.
If he's talking, I don't know which one he's talking about, but if he's talking about the golf one, yeah, no, that was terrible, but that was terrible for both of them because they both started bickering about golf.
Poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight.
It's really rich coming from this guy, right? Because him and all of his supporters have been saying for so long that Biden needs to drop out, that he's too old. By the way, Trump's like 2 years younger, right? But Biden needs to drop out. He's too old. He's too old. He's too old. And then he drops out and they're like, oh my God, he's such a coward. Look at him. He dropped out. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God.
Fight. He's not doing where you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately.
Why, though? That's the thing. His campaign shouldn't be geared all towards Biden. Like, that's fucking insane. You're supposed to be campaigning for the American people, not for fucking Biden. Like, what the fuck?
It's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies.
By the way, all false. Okay, again, Democrats and Biden especially tried to get a border security thing passed that would have tightened border security. The Republicans were the ones that blocked it.
They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil.
Yes. Yes. Yes, get rid of it. Like, what? What are you talking? Yes, get rid of it.
They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
No, they don't. Gas heating is not efficient. Okay? It's not.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation.
Let me ask you this. Does Donald Trump support nuclear energy? Do you know if he does? The answer is yes. Yes, he does. Okay. There are 11 accomplishments. I'll have all these links down in the description, as I always do. Right? But we can see, and this is on the official energy.gov website, the official nuclear energy website, right? They say these are 11 accomplishments by the Trump administration in advanced nuclear energy, right? So we can see that. What about Biden? Well, on the same website, okay, so from the same exact source, newly signed bill will boost nuclear reactor deployment in the United States. Okay, it doesn't say Biden in there, but I was gonna type in Biden, but we don't even have to. So right down here, President Biden signs the Fire Grants and Safety Act into law, chalking up a big win for our nuclear power industry. Okay, so yes, Biden also supports nuclear power. So this thing about, oh, they want to get rid of oil, you do too, because you're in support of nuclear energy, just like Biden. both of which far cleaner and far safer than gas and coal.
Is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years.
Answer the question. What are you going to do about it?
And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58, whatever it may be. They don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question?
Yes,
That is also.
Notice how he never answered the question. What are you going to do about inflation?
Impacting black Americans.
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something.
As a refresher, since he apparently, by the way, Biden knows about this case. Trump apparently doesn't. But just for a quick reminder, Macy was an unarmed black woman with some water boiling on the stove. The officer asked her to take it off of the stove. She did so. He demanded she put it down, pulled his gun on her, okay, threatened to blow her head off. She ducked in fear. He walked around, all without his body cam on, by the way, so there's no evidence from his point of view. Walked around the counter, and without any way to see what she's actually doing, shot her in the head, killing her. For no reason.
And it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
They're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends.
It doesn't depend. Because you said that if you win, police will get immunity. You didn't say some police will. You said no, police will get immunity.
Depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And
by the way, this idea that police need protection, they've already got fucking qualified immunity. Shut the fuck up. They don't need more immunity. If anything, they honestly need less.
by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings. And
we're going to fact check that. How many shootings happened in Chicago on July 4th weekend? Okay. 19 plus 86. Okay. 19 plus 86 is 105, right? Let's see.
A few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings. And
just factually wrong. Just factually wrong. 109. I mean, this one says 119, which is still more than what he said, so still factually wrong, right?
17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't.
You want to know how you get the respect and dignity back? All of those racist, bigoted cops, all you have to fucking do is look at the fucking history of these cops. You have cops that have a record of fucking racist, homophobic, like, just the most horrendous fucking shit. You have cops that have shot and murdered innocent black people, innocent white people. You have cops who have fucking done horrendous things. And they just... meh. The cop that fucking killed George Floyd, not a goddamn thing would have happened if people didn't go out and fucking protest. Not a goddamn fucking thing. You want to know why? Because that same officer had a history of this shit.
It didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So,
And by the way, all of that, the reason why these cops get away with it is because of fucking qualified immunity. It's the dumbest fucking shit in the world.
can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody...
Which, in his... totally fair. Totally correct. There is a difference between a bad apple and an honest-to-God mistake. Okay? Now, so, like, let's take the Macy situation, okay? How could it be a honest-to-God mistake, okay? Here's how it could be an honest-to-God mistake. Macy is moving the water over, she slips on something, and she accidentally flings the water forward. The cop thinks she's throwing it at him and shoots her. That would be an honest-to-God mistake, right? Total mistake. She slipped. He, in the heat of the moment, thought she was flinging this scalding hot water at him, right? And so he fires in self-defense. That is an honest-to-God mistake. What he did was go around everything after she had ducked down in fear and shot her in the head when she was defenseless. That is not an honest-to-God mistake. That is intentional murder.
made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
You
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a, life and death decision.
True. Very true. Very often cops have to act like split second. They have to just make a call and go with that call, and there isn't really time for hesitation. Very, very true point he's making.
And sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quick.
Notice, however, while he made a good point, he never answered the question.
I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecution.
And by the way, I think all these women are fucking shitters. I think all of them are fucking shitters and aren't actually doing their journalistic duty because these are all softball shit and they're not pressing him on it. He's just avoiding the fucking question. He hasn't actually answered a single fucking question. And none of them are doing anything. No one's saying anything about it. It's insane.
Prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people.
Wrong. So, let's take the fucking documents, okay? The difference between Biden and Trump is Biden, when they came after him and said, hey, you have these documents, you need to return them, immediately turned them back over. All of them. Every single one. He was like, oh, shit, I'm not allowed to have it. I'm so sorry. Here you go. Have them back. Trump, when faced with the same thing, went, fuck you, I'm allowed to have these, ha 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 ha, and then actively work to obstruct the recovery of them for months and months and months and months and months and months and months. And by the way, he should have been federally prosecuted for all this shit, for refusing to do as the FBI says, because, by the way, you have to. It's the law. If the law states that if the FBI tells you you have to do something, you have to do it. And then they went and got a subpoena from a judge, and the judge said, hey, you have to do this, and then he fucking ignored the judge. You're not allowed to do that. It doesn't matter if you're in the right or the wrong. If the judge tells you you have to do something, guess what? You legally have to do it. It doesn't fucking matter who you are. If Biden had done this shit, the same fucking thing would have done it. If Biden had refused to turn them over, the FBI would have fucking went after him for it. The same way they did with Trump. This is fucking insanely ridiculous that there's this fucking narrative that it's some fucking political thing. Shut the fuck up. No, it's not.
That have weaponized our justice system.
No, they haven't. You have, by filing massive amounts of frivolous lawsuits, be like, oh, he stole the election. All of them were thrown out. Most of them because you have no fucking evidence.
I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case.
This is what he's talking about, by the way. You just delayed it. By the way, the classified documents still going on. He's still refusing to return them despite being legally told by the FBI and by a fucking judge to return them. He has been subpoenaed for this shit. Like, these are federal crimes. And he's just allowed to fucking walk free. It's insane.
That was the most difficult case, and I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse.
No, he doesn't. There is no case about any kind of classified fucking documents going on with Biden. Nothing. Because he fucking returned them.
Protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time, and he had 50 years worth of documents, and they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis.
By the way, deflecting entirely hasn't answered the fucking question.
That he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and so, therefore we're not going to prosecute.
By the way, Trump has repeatedly, in every single fucking legal case, been like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't remember saying that. Oh, I have no memory of that. Oh, I mean, I guess if you say so. He has repeatedly used this exact same fucking defense. Shut the fuck up.
Him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC.
He hasn't won any fucking case. He got a delay. That's it.
Doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir.
By the way, this isn't ABC. This is fucking Fox.
Sir, I'd love to move over on to different topics.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent.
No, it's not.
I have another one.
No, it's not. No, it's not. This, oh my fucking God, dude, this narrative is fucking annoying. It's not an attack on you for any political fucking reason. You have classified documents you're not allowed to have. You've been told by everyone, even the people you took them from, that you don't have it. You've been told by courts that you don't have it, and you're sitting here saying you do. Shut the fuck up. No, you don't. If a judge says you don't have it, you don't have it. They know the law better than your fucking 90-year-old decrepit ass.
Where
sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love
judge.
To, we have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
no,
topics.
Excuse you, you're
can.
the one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
Deflecting, blaming on someone else. That's all he has done.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your campaign
I think
position?
I'm speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that...
By the way, all based on Christian values. Okay, all based on his religious beliefs, which are supposed to be kept separate. This is why politics is fucking shit. There's supposed to be a separation from church and state, and then you have all these fucking Christians and all these fucking religious people trying to push their fucking religious bullshit. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about what's right for America. Not what you personally fucking want or think is right. It's fucking insane. These people are supposed to represent their constituents. The people that voted them into power, but they don't. They vote for shit that they think should be there. It's fucking ridiculous.
If you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family.
He has literally said people who don't have children should have a less of a vote than people with children. He's literally saying if you don't have children, you are categorically inferior. It's
There's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person.
And by the way, he never answered the fucking question.
One vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from
deflecting again.
Prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally.
He never said anything about immigrants. Never said anything about illegal immigrants. Never did. Never did. He said people who don't have children should have less votes.
People
and
who
they're
are only
taking the
American
vote away
citizens
from
are
all
allowed
of the
to vote,
people in
sir.
this room.
And yes, what she just said is true. In order to vote, you have to present a government ID to register. And when you go to vote, you have to present a government ID to actually go and vote. Like, Also, you need a piece of mail or something that has your name and address on it. Illegal immigrants aren't going to do that. Because then it puts them on the government finds them, goes, oh shit, you're an illegal alien, it grabs them and throws them out of the country.
That have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happen. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. but you're going to see it happening
Not
a
answering the
long
question.
time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this
Not answering the
country
question.
illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance? Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing, too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard
I'll tell
to
you
hear.
why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room, but you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having family.
Here's the thing, right? The lack of any citation. This isn't even a hard citation. He's like, oh, he wrote this book that was a bestseller and it got a movie adaptation, and then he doesn't say what the name is.
That has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated, and you know, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the Law Journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually. Did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family. But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. And so, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know
is so
it is really hard for me to understand
it's just,
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you.
I'm happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand
Are you asking a question?
what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring. You know, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris. And that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is...
And deflect, blame someone else.
Do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But I think it's
they're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the...
No, they're not. No, they're not. The only time... Okay, here's my stance. Abortion should be allowed in only the following, okay? Rape, incest, and if it's to save the mother's life. Those are the only times.
The baby is born based on...
Also, it should be free. They shouldn't have to pay anything.
Sir, that is
governor of
illegal in
Virginia,
every state in the
that's
country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's a
They're allowing
crime.
abortion.
No, like the lady is saying, it's literally a crime everywhere in the United States. You're not allowed to do this.
In the 8th and 9th month of
Well, Democrats
pregnancy.
have denied
I think they're right, and I
That's
think
the
the
thing.
Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps, but the Republican
No. The right has only gotten more extreme and radical since Trump.
Party, what
Like, this is just a proven fact.
we're doing is bringing it back
And the biggest proof of this is J.D. Vance, who was a Democrat and then got radicalized into becoming a Republican.
to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Roe v. Wade literally protected abortion rights. Everyone wanted Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade being overturned was a massive fucking, what the fuck moment for all of America. What the fuck are you talking about?
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being
They
overturned.
don't
Multiple
know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take
No. Most Republicans are adamant and staunch, opponents to abortion. Because most of them are fucking Christians. They're like, oh, abortion, you're killing your baby. You're going to hell.
Take a look. Right now, they're doing, it's an
insane.
amazing thing. Out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting.
It shouldn't be in the states. It shouldn't be in the government. No one, stay out of our lives. How about that? How about all the government, the state, the federal, whatever, just stay out of our fucking lives in our house? How about that? How about you let us do what we want with our own bodies? How about that? How about you stop trying to dictate what we can and can't do? Because, by the way, Republicans are the ones that are opposed to abortion.
And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing. A little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are.
You want to know why? Because Kansas is basically the ass crack of the Christian, ecosystem. I know this because I lived there.
Are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on, and they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting, and it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And
no, it's not. No, it's not. What would this be called? Puts it back into the hands of the people, all right? You're a fucking liar. Shut the fuck up.
And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Most people believe in the three exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees.
It's literally illegal in every single state.
Agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you
most people, I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history. The greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh, my goodness.
Deflect and blame someone else again.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, sir, actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask.
Yeah.
I would like.
Let's fact check him on that. The tests that he took were only for mild cognitive impairment and early dementia.
To have people running for president, and I don't mean because
he also described him as difficult, so
they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do.
Who? We're gonna fact check that. Nothing. Nothing about it. He's the only one that has ever said they're unconstitutional. No one else has ever said it. If anyone else ever said it, it's because they're quoting him. He's the only one that has ever said they're unconstitutional. They're not. And now he's like, oh, but we should do them. After literally saying they're unconstitutional. Look, this is Ground News. Here's the thing. Ground News, actually unbiased. Okay? Okay. So he says they're unconstitutional. Let's read the full article. Okay. Links here. Let's see.
And I said this morning, I say it loud and clear, you should take a cognitive test. A president should take a cognitive. Now, they say that's unconstitutional. For whatever reason, it's unconstitutional. But I took 2 of them, and I aced both of them, I'm very proud to say, meaning I got it all right.
Ronnie
and they're not, Ronnie Jackson did one. They're not that easy. You know, they show you the first ones are pretty easy. And then you get into the middle category. Then you get to the end questions. And very few people could answer those questions. They're actually very tough.
I've seen the test.
But.
Okay. So, he's never said it. This is why you look. Because, right? So, we look here, and this is why I did click in, right? Because it says, like, here, he said they're unconstitutional. But when you listen on it, he literally didn't say that. He said that some people say that.
And I said this morning, I say it loud and clear, you should take a cognitive test. A president should take a cognitive. Now, they say that's unconstitutional for...
No, they say that's unconstitutional. He didn't say that it's unconstitutional. And by the way, Ground News, not the ones reported, just the ones that show you the article, right? And it's only one article that's ever said this, and it's from the left, right? Just saying.
Do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman.
By the way, I agree. I think cognitive tests should be done.
And our country is a mess. We have...
The country's been a mess since after fucking George Washington left office.
Inflation, we have the millions of people falling in, we have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they...
By the way, Biden's not responsible for Afghanistan. That was Bush.
Done to our country. She has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Mr. President.
Look at all this. But he is clearly biased, right? Seems pretty clear to me, anyways. But, we look at, no, this is vice presidents. So let's see. Wow. No Kamala Harris. Surprising. Oh, well, this was in 2008. Never mind.
Interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public?
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also.
He didn't release the results, though.
You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
Are you saying
That is a wild statement, by the way. Be like, oh, she didn't pass the law exam. That must mean she's so fucking retarded and incompetent, she can't pass this test. Like, that is a fucking wild statement. This motherfucker expects people to vote for him?
When it just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear,
By the way, she's black. And then, like, the reason he's there is to show them why they should vote for him. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't think
I'm
you're
just
How do you
giving you the
intend,
facts.
and
She didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it. I
She
guess
did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact
he
pass
must
it.
work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had
January 6th is fucking modern day! What are you talking about, modern day? It was 4 years ago!
an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. There's cleaning agents for it. I know because I've used them.
Especially on the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They
I've literally used chemicals that will do this. He's a fucking idiot.
viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed
But sir, my
that
question
city?
is on those.
What's going to happen to
my
the
question
people
is
that
on
tried
those
to
ri-
By the way, just like she's pointing out, deflect, blame something else. He has not answered a single fucking question in almost 36 minutes.
rioters who assaulted
Excuse me.
officers?
Not
You have to
Would
answer,
you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent,
those-
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
He will pardon the people that assaulted police, that wanted to kill them and members of Congress, by the way. And his own vice president.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court well, they were convicted by a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the
But,
people
sir, we're
that,
talking about
how
people
come
that
the
were
people-
seen beating
We're
officers
talking
with
about
Deflect, blame someone else. Deflect, 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 deflect. That's all he does. He's not answering a single fucking question. Answer the question.
federal
flag poles,
buildings.
dragging them down the stairs. They're on
They
video.
try-
Have you seen that
Really?
video,
Oh,
sir?
really? Well, they
you would
shot-
pardon those. You would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know,
They shot her because she was a part of a violent mob that wanted to kill our fucking senators
nobody died
and your vice president.
that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle.
No people did die that day. No one died that day. Nobody died that day, by the way. No one died.
Nobody died, but people died in
140
Minneapolis.
officers
Do you know
were
people died in
assaulted that
Minneapolis?
day.
And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people.
You want to know the difference, okay? The difference, one of them had their entire fucking police department defunded. So there were no fucking police to do anything about it. The other one was being defunded. The difference between that and January 6th is January 6th is the fucking Capitol building. And it's protected by the United States Army. Or at least should be. Considering your lack and refusal, in fact, to send any officers there. Because yes, the lack of officers and the lack of troops stationed at the Capitol ahead of it, despite them knowing that the Proud Boys and other white extremist groups are going to be there, all got proof, by the way. Despite all that, Trump refused to send any more. He actively told them not to. It is his fucking fault!
People with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in. What about?
Literally none of them were. Shut the fuck up, you goddamn hypocritic liar!
About that? Look,
No one was
nothing is perfect in life.
You even hear the fucking audience saying that's not fucking true. Like, come the fuck on.
You have people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing.
Here's the thing. I don't give a fuck about those monuments. Fuck the money. I say we tear down all of them. They're fucking insane. It's basically like a fucking religion. We're supposed to worship these people we've never met, we will never meet, we will never have any connection to. And the only thing I know about them is what's written in a fucking book that was written by the winners. Like, shut the fuck. I don't give a fuck about these people. I don't care about George Washington. I don't care about Abraham Lincoln. I don't give a fuck about fucking Alexander Hamilton. I don't give a fuck about any of these people. None of them fucking matter to me. Because none of them are in the present day.
Nothing happened to them, and you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political.
We don't even have two. We don't have one. We have no system of justice because it's all fucked. It's all filled with fucking corruption. Like, media's not talking about this woman. This woman literally threatened to shoot children in front of cops and still isn't in jail. She still has her job as a fucking Supreme Court justice in New York City. Nothing fucking happened to her. Shut the fuck up. We don't have a justice system. We have people who decide the fate of other people because someone said that they're allowed to. That's what we have.
Political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend
He's literally been losing all of them.
a lot of time on that, and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming. We want people to come in, Harris.
So, because we're getting towards the end, I'm going to rewind for a moment. And I want y'all to listen to that question and listen to his response.
Spend a lot of time on that, and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
He's not being, no one's going after him because he's a political opponent. It's fucking hogwash.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
what do you do on day one? Day one.
What do? I close the border.
He's going to close the border on day one, okay? So here, I'm going to fucking bring up a notepad, and we're going to write this shit down, right? We're gonna write all this shit down. So, on day one, Trump will close the border. On day one.
And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rate.
So what he's going to do is he's just going to drill up more oil. He's just going to invest in more of this shit that's literally killing our ecosystems. Okay?
What do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest.
And this is all on day one that he's going to do this. Okay? Remember, this is day one. That's what the question was. What are you going to do on day one? Okay? So on day one, he's going to do that. He's going to reduce energy prices. Okay.
Say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down.
Okay. Reduce interest rates. All day one.
I bring inflation way down.
Bring inflation way down.
So people can buy bacon again. So people can buy a ham sandwich again. So that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me.
They're not mandating it, by the way. And they're not being endorsed by Elon. Elon literally hates Biden and is full Trump support. He's literally fucking lying about his own fucking supporters.
He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car. Okay? I'm very much against that.
And the reason why he's against it, he's not going to say it because that would expose him. The reason he's against it is because he has a fuck ton of money into big oil. That's why he wants to drill more oil. Despite also supporting nuclear. So he's against oil.
You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia.
That is factually incorrect. The Middle East has exponentially more oil. That's why we fucking import it from there. That's why they export almost all of it. What are you talking about?
More than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in...
There's no fucking invasion.
...are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
NABJ will email about details regarding the conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So this is a wild fucking interview. Wild. So on day one, this is what he's going to do. He's going to close the border. He's going to drill up more oil. He's going to reduce energy prices. He's going to reduce interest rates. And he's going to bring inflation way down. All on day one. We'll see if this actually happens. I'm going to save this. And we'll see if he actually does literally any of this. He'll probably do this and nothing else. So, yeah. Anyways, every single question that was asked, he deflected, blamed someone else. He actively instigated hate towards one specific person. He lied his ass off about everything, including his own supporters. He is going to pardon all of the people who injured and maimed and almost killed officers of the law in the January 6th attack, which was perpetrated by absolute fucking degenerate psychopaths. That could have easily been prevented if he had just sent the National Guard and more cops. So fucking, the country's fucked. That's what it is. Anyways, this has been all for today. Thank you all for coming to my corner. I've been the DM as always, and I will see you next time.